Right, well, good morning everyone. I'm doing a book review now that I've been wanting to do. It's actually been over a month or so since I read this book, and I absolutely loved it. A whole lot of things happened since then, but my memory's still quite fresh on it. So it's this book here by Geoffrey, Blainey, Sea of Dangers, Captain Cook and His Rivals. And it mainly focuses on Cook's first voyage and also a French voyage. The St. Jean-Baptiste was, if I remember correctly, was the boat, and Captain de Surville was the captain. So, yeah, and look, it's just an amazing book. It's obviously, Cook at the moment is a super hot topic because of the whole colonial legacy, and I don't know, look, I'm yet to fully form an opinion on the man, but at the moment, I'm just amazed at his skills. To really get a proper overview of him and, you know, how he sits in the whole colonial debate. Obviously, he opened up a huge part of the map to Europe that was, you know, hadn't been opened before. The thing I like about him is just his skills and his, you know, he rose through the ranks just on his own ability. As a surveyor and as a leader of men, and yeah, there's a lot to admire with that. In terms of what his attitude was to Indigenous people, I haven't fully discerned that yet, so my full opinion of the man's not completely formed, but certainly his skills are amazing. And you know, you've got to remember, they were sailing, you know, some of this stuff where they and the funny thing is how in New Zealand they almost actually ran into each other. They were so close to each other. But, you know, they were sailing in parts where they had no idea what they were going to. And, you know, it's pretty amazing. But something which I'm really interested in is what I call the anthropology of extinction, and why they came out and exploited areas. Why weren't they sustainable just where they were back in Europe? And you know, that's a huge question. Why did, like, going out to explore is one thing. I don't see anything wrong with that. It'd be like if we went out and, you know, explored space or the solar system or whatever. But why did they have to? Why were they doing it to seek new land? Why did they need? You know, why weren't they sustainable where they were? And that's a huge question. And of course, this book doesn't really deal with that. It's just recounting the voyages. And it's actually quite moving in parts. And of course, Geoffrey Blainey, because he's so knowledgeable, he contextualises everything so well. But you get to know the different crew members really well. And I mean, it's not a work of fiction, but it reads like, you know, you get that invested in the people and their fate. And of course, Cook's voyage was amazing because of, you know, the scientists that he had with him. And that, I believe, was a real first at the time to really, I mean, they wanted to, the primary aim first was to measure the transit of Venus across the front of the sun, which wasn't entirely successful due to a number of circumstances. And then they had the secret mission to see what lay further east and try and find the Great South Land, and you know, further east from Tahiti. But yeah, it just I don't know, it's just amazing. Going out, exploring and finding out things, I think that's completely fine. What you do with people when you get there is another issue altogether. And like I was saying, I don't fully have that formed in my mind about Cook's legacy there. Really intriguingly, when they got to Botany Bay, the Aboriginal people there completely ignored them for the most part, certainly when they sailed in. And, you know, I just wonder if they saw them as spirits. I don't quite know, but the way that they were, what's the word, oblivious, the way the Aboriginal people were oblivious to them to a very large extent at the beginning was really amazing. I guess one thing I didn't like about this book is that he skips a fair bit as they go up the coast, and certainly when they go past Moreton Bay and what's now Brisbane and that area, the Glasshouse Mountains, all of that's skipped. And then there's a lot more detail when he gets up to what's now, of course, called Cooktown and the Endeavour River. And again, that was the interaction there with the Aboriginal people was amazing. So yeah, and you know, I came out of here reading this with a huge amount of interest in Joseph Banks and Solander, his assistant. Now I'm going up north, so tying this to birds, right? And there's a few sequences here, or bits here where they talk about the birds that they saw. I'm going up north at the end of the year, and we're going, we're planning to, I can't see it's changing, all the way up to Cooktown. So I'm going to do just a little study on the birds as mentioned here, versus what's up there now. So I'm keen to do some videos when I get to Cooktown about that. And the French one, the Saint Jean Baptiste and de Serval, well, yeah, that was an amazing story too. They were out trading more so than looking to discover things. Strangely enough, they thought there was a colony of Jewish merchants somewhere out in the Pacific that was something that they believed in Europe. But I don't know. Look, and I won't say what happened to the de Serval's voyage, because that was really moving as well. It's worth just reading more about that by itself, actually, or just reading this book for that story apart from Cook. So anyway, look at this. I know it's not directly related to birds, but the discovery of the plants and animals in Australia to Western science, certainly started, well, on the east coast of Australia, certainly started with this voyage. Yeah, so look, I just loved it. I thought this is a very well written, very well researched book with a lot of extra context, so you can really place it in terms of its historical importance. It's not the huge big overview of Cook if you're looking for that. Yeah, and the only criticism I had is, they just kind of skipped some of the voyage going up the east coast. So anyway, I had a little bit of a Captain Cook craze going there. So I've got this book to read. This is about all 3 voyages. And this book here, which has excerpts from the log of the Endeavour, and I've already found some of this. It says it's all from Cook, but some of this is actually from Banks's journal as well. So when we do get up to Cooktown, or before when I start to research what they saw there, so I know what to look for when I get up there, I'll be going into that. There's obviously having I guess a third. Do you call this a third, not third person, a secondary source? I'm thinking primary, secondary sources. A secondary source written by someone as knowledgeable as Blainey is really useful, but there's nothing like reading the primary source. I just love doing that. You really get a feeling for the history. And this book here, interestingly enough, which I picked up at a Lifeline book sale ages ago, forward by Premier Geoffrey Peterson, no less. This was the bicentenary of Cook coming through in 1970. Yeah, and this little book was actually fairly even-handed to my surprise. I've only skimmed through it, but anyway, so they're the books that I have about Cook, and I'm looking at doing more research and an interesting video when we get up to Cooktown at the end of the year. So anyway, that's it. So I hope you're all well. That's a pretty quick and hopefully good book review. Probably not, but yeah, I would recommend this if you're interested in exploration, if you're interested in the start of European science in Australia and our understanding of the flora and fauna here, and just a great read in terms of the people and the crew. And geez, they struggled. The fight against scurvy and then malaria when they got up into Indonesia. It's just incredible. Like, these guys put their lives on the line the whole time. And you've got to ask, apart from, I think exploration and science is entirely justifiable, but it was, they were driven to do this by more than just that, and that was the unjust and unequitable society that they came out of. So what was going on in Europe at the time that made people need to do this, apart from just, the natural yearning to see what else is out there. So yeah, you do get some of that in this book as well. So if you want to learn more about the history and about Cook and de Serval in particular, then this is great. So I've done that. Now I'm going to move on to some other books about him as well. So anyway, that's it. So I hope you're all well, and I'm enjoying getting back into some bird videos, so there's going to be a lot more coming. Okay, see you then. Bye.